It was a night that started like any other. Emma sat reading in her quaint living room, the soft glow of the fireplace casting flickering shadows on the walls. Her cat, Whiskers, purred contentedly beside her. Suddenly the air thickened and a cold, unnatural gust blew through the room, extinguishing the fire instantly. Emma shivered, clutching her blanket tighter. The room fell silent, but for the creak of the old wooden floorboards. Without warning, the antique clock on the mantel began to chime, the glass front rattling violently, though it was nowhere near midnight. Emma's heart pounded as she watched in disbelief. Books began to tumble off the shelves, pages fluttering like trapped birds. The room seemed alive with an unholy energy, the walls themselves groaning with each passing second. Emma tried to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. Frozen in terror, she watched as Whiskers hissed and bolted under the sofa. Just then, the lights flickered, and the furniture trembled, rearranging itself with a life of its own. Emma staggered backward as the coffee table slid across the room, carving a path toward her. The air crackled with a sinister intent. It was as if something unseen, something malevolent, was toying with her, delighting in her fear. And then, just as abruptly as it began, it stopped. The room was left in shambles, and Emma stood alone, the echoes of her ordeal lingering in the stillness. In the dim glow of a single bulb, Sarah found herself drawn to the dust-covered radio resting in the corner of her late grandfather's attic. The antique piece crackled softly, even though it appeared to be unplugged. Intrigued, she turned the lone dial, and the static suddenly transformed into a low, raspy hum that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. The air chilled inexplicably, goosebumps prickling her skin. She leaned closer, the hum now distinctively laced with the faintest whisper of her name. Unease settled in, but curiosity overwhelmed fear. She fiddled with the dial again, and the whispers grew louder, forming a sinister symphony of murmured conversations. They spoke of forgotten secrets, of shadows lurking just beyond her sight. The attic seemed to close in around her, walls echoing with the dissonant cacophony. Frantic, Sarah yanked at the power cord, but the radio continued its spectral broadcast, impervious to her attempts to silence it. Panicked, she stumbled back, knocking over a stack of moldy boxes. Among the debris lay an old photograph of her grandfather, with a group of solemn-faced men. Their eyes seemed to follow her, an uncanny reflection of the radio's cold, unyielding gaze. Suddenly, the whispers ceased, replaced by a single chilling phrase, "You're next." The room fell silent, but the echoes of the old radio lingered, a haunting reminder of the tales it could tell. In the dim alley of a quaint antique store, Anna spotted a delicate glass figurine, an ethereal dancer poised mid-leap. Its surface shimmered strangely in the fading light, captivating her immediately. The shop owner, an old man with a gaze that seemed to penetrate her very soul, offered it at an unbeatable price. Ignoring her own sense of foreboding, Anna took it home, placing it on her mantelpiece. That night, unsettling dreams descended upon her, visions of the dancer, but with eyes that glowed a deep, menacing red. Awaking in a sweat, she dismissed it as mere imagination. However, the atmosphere within her home shifted subtly, an oppressive energy that seemed to emanate from the figurine itself. Over the next few days, objects began to move on their own. Whispers echoed through the walls, and shadows danced in the corners of her vision. Driven by fear, Anna decided to return the figurine. Upon re-entering the shop, she found it abandoned, dust covering every surface, as if untouched for decades. The old man was nowhere to be seen, his existence a mystery. Trembling, she held the figurine in her hands, realizing too late that she could never rid herself of its sinister presence. Her screams were the only sound in the stillness, swallowed by the eerie silence that followed.